everybody, welcome back to the Wire Gaming HQ channel. Today's going to be a video about how to wire, for my instance, a GPS. As you see there's a little USB cable. Or this can be done with any USB, you know, for your phone, for a radar detector, for a dash camera, basically any instance. And the cool thing about using a fuse tap is, as you can see down here, this has power without using any cigarette outlets or my, you know, factory USB port or anything like that. And also, as you can see here, the GPS is off, but when you go to accessory or on, as you see, it will actually jet power if you tap it to a fuse that only is powered while the car is on, which is great because you don't want to be killing your battery or, you know, having any stupid cords coming up through here and around here. So this makes it look really great. Alright, so to get started, you're going to need, more than likely, depending on what car you have, a flathead. If you can, use like a plastic scraper tool so you don't go scratching your dash. I don't have one, so I'm just going to do this. If you're really careful, it'll work. And then, depending on what car, most likely a Phillips, but I know some cars use, you know, like Torx screws, stars, or Allen keys or whatnot, so you'll have to cross that bridge when you get to it. But for the most part, it's going to be the same way for most things. You're going to want to peel off this little thing right here. Now be careful, if you've ever worked with car stuff, you know that there's little clips that you want to pop out kind of by hand, because if you're too rough, they'll break off. And it won't be the end of the world, but they're not exactly easy. As you see, just kind of keep bringing this around and it'll pop off. And then for my car, it's kind of like wedged under here within the weather stripping, so you kind of just got to peel it backwards and then it'll drop right off. And if you're wondering, this is a 2015 Hyundai Veloster, so it's South Korean, but I've done this in a, I've been in this kind of side of a car in the Dodge Dart, and it was basically the same process. Alright, so as you can see here, you have these screws right here, which you're going to want, because you're going to want to take off this whole entire bottom part of the, like under the steering wheel. As you can see, my fuse box is right here. And for this video, I'm going to be disassembling it while the fuse tap is in there, just to show you. I already have it, but I will show you putting it back in as well. But anyways, let's begin by removing these screws. Gonna want to keep these screws somewhere safe. An instance for my car, from what I've seen, most of my dash screws are the same, so I don't have to worry about keeping them separate. They all seem like they're the same length and whatnot. Take that one out. This one's a little hard to access. You're probably going to want like a small screwdriver. As you see, it's kind of an awkward angle here. A little bit of grip. It also helps to have a Torx screwdriver, as I have here. Oh, also, you can, here, let's see. Alright, you can also do this before or after, as long as you do it before you're messing with your fuses. This isn't required, but I'd recommend you popping your hood and coming over here, opening it up. And I'd recommend you disconnect your negative terminal, which I will do right now. I generally do that whenever I'm working with electrical, because you don't know what, you don't want to, you know, jump something and then it fries off the battery or whatnot. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Alright, as you can see from my car, mine takes a socket wrench. I'll just put it on here. Just loosen it up a little bit to the touch. And then this should pop right off with a little bit of wiggling. And then you're going to want to keep this away from the metal part. Alright, so now that that's done, we can continue the process. Alright, so basically what we'll be doing is grabbing a 10 or 15 amp fuse from your fuse box right here, and we'll be jumping it, which means adding another one and then getting a positive lead to go up into the cord that we have here. And as you can see, most fuse box covers, if you look at them, you'll be able to see what does what. So you're going to want to find one that is 10 or 15 amps, depending on what you need. I think mine's a 10. And you're going to want to find one that's powered only when the car is on. So, you know, a cigarette lighter would work. You could probably use an amp. Probably airbag, smart key. You might have to look it up, you know, cluster, stuff like that should only work when the car is on. Alright, so to continue this process, I believe there's one screw left down awkwardly kind of in the under the steering wheel. Alright, so that one is out. Alright, so you just want to kind of begin pulling. Just not using too much force, but getting it kind of undone. There's one clip. You may feel like you're breaking it, just as I said, don't use too much force. Come from the bottom. Another clip. And then this will kind of just come out of there. Now you're going to have these wires holding it on. Now for what we're doing here, I'd recommend just leaving them plugged in. If you want to unplug them and take this panel out, you're welcome to do that, but I have no problem just leaving it hang here. I don't really feel like it's in my way too much. Alright, another thing you'll probably have to remove, depending on which car, is this upper one right here, which is connected to the vent next to the steering wheel. You're going to want to remove this screw, and then this vent will just pop out, and that'll give us more room to access up here. Alright, so we'll start by removing this one. Sorry if this video is a little janky. I'm trying to do this and film it by myself. Isn't exactly easy. Alright. Go up here and grab this one. And this should just kind of pop out here. It'll be the same way. You're going to feel like you're breaking it, but you just got to do a little bit of force. Should slide right out. There we go. There's the whole vent mechanism. And then as you can see, we have a lot more room to work with in here. Alright, so now onto the actual hardware that you'll need. As you can see here, I ordered this off Amazon. It's actually made for a motorcycle, but what it is basically just a positive and a negative to USB. And what I did is, as you can see, it comes all the way through here. And as you can see right here, I spliced it. This came with just a ring to, you know, it was initially to connect just to the battery. But what I went ahead and did is cut it. And if you go to AutoZone, you can find this part right here, where it's a fuse tap. This is specifically for a 10 amp. To where you plug it in, basically. You put the old fuse in here, and then you put a new fuse in here. And then that's how the fuse jump will work. And then the negative side, you're just going to want to crimp on a little ring here to get a solid ground within the vehicle. Alright, so now you're going to refer back to your fuse box diagram. I decided to use cluster 10 amp. It's on the top right, second from the top. So you're just going to get pliers or fuse pullers if you have them. And pull that fuse. A little bit of force. And then you're going to want to put this fuse into this jump, as well as an aftermarket fuse you can buy. Make sure it's the same ampage, obviously. I accidentally bought mini fuses, and this is micro. They're the same thing, it's just these are a little bit bigger, so you may run into clearance issues, so you're going to want to refer to this and make sure you have the right size if you want to. Alright, so now as you can see here, I have the fuse jump set up. And all you're going to do now is just reinsert it into the original position you pulled it from. And as you can see here, this is where I would have ran into clearance issues, but I got lucky. And as you can see, it fits right in there. Now the next step is going to be finding a good place for your negative, right here. As you see, I already have a place. It's right here. You're going to want to find some bare metal, preferably without paint. As you can see, I sanded this a little bit. So you're just going to want to grab a socket and remove this. Screw it here. You're going to want to put it over this. Alright, so now this is ready. Screw it back in. Make sure it's nice and snug. Get a good positive ground. And this is where your battery should definitely be unplugged. You don't want to be pulling fuses, jumping and all that with the battery plugged in. You definitely want the battery to be off because you don't want to be messing with fuses and stuff while you have a current, in my opinion. Anyways, just go and tighten this up. And then you're going to want to, you know, as you can see here, you have your excess cable. And you're going to want to just tidy this up. You're going to want to leave this, you know, somewhere in here and then route just the cord up to here. Alright, so now you're going to get the USB cord that you need for whatever you're charging. As I mentioned, for my instance, it's a mini USB. And then you're going to want to find a way to route it through here and get it up to here or wherever you need it. Maybe you got to go up the pillar and up here regardless. So you're going to want to just kind of fish it through. For my instance, I need to take this pillar, I need to loosen it as it is right now. And then I just need to kind of squeeze this in here without scratching it. Alright, as you can see here, I got it squeezed. Then you're just going to want to kind of bring it to where you want it. For instance, I want it like right up here. And then pull all the slack that you're not going to use down. Okay. Pull it up and then push this back a little bit. Basically just kind of trial and error. Alright, that should do it. Then I'm just going to put this pillar back. Nice little snap. There we go. And then with your USB coming down here, you are just going to simply plug it into this and then find somewhere to hide all this, preferably where this won't come unplugged while driving. So I'm just going to kind of try to tuck it back in here, kind of keep it out of the way, and then all this can kind of just get tucked. Back there. Alright, now is the time where I can go ahead and put my vent back. Kind of just put it in the same way we took it out. Just a little bit of force. And we'll screw that back in, and then we'll proceed to put this bottom part back on. With all this screwed back in, this is popped back into place. You're going to want to just get your little decorative piece, hinge it back on, and then just pop it back on. And then make sure you have some good clearance in here. Make sure it's not too all wired and whatnot. And then pop your fuse cover back on, and voila. And then of course the final step for making sure this works is putting your negative back on. Make sure it's nice and tight. close the hood. Then we'll get it in the car. And then the through test will be getting your GPS or whatever device you need to work and plugging it in, obviously. And then you're going to want to make sure it's not powered with the car off, because as I said earlier, that would not be good. Unless you need that for whatever reason. So right now we're good, and then let's go to accessory. And then we should have power. And there we go. So that should do it. As you can see, it's a hell of a lot cleaner. As if nothing's here. Just popping out of that one little corner. Anyways guys, that'll be it for this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe.